My sister said, "We don't serve beggars here," right in front of a crowded bank lobby. I had only asked to withdraw $100. The entire room went silent. Clients glanced up from their phones. A security guard stiffened. A mother pulled her toddler closer. Amanda, my older sister, stood tall in a tailored blazer, her heels clicking like punctuation. Her voice? Sharp, calm, loud enough for everyone to hear. What she didn't know, what none of them knew, was that I could have frozen the entire system with one login. And in 10 minutes, I would. But I hadn't gone there for revenge. Not that day. Before I go on, let me ask you something. Where are you watching from right now? And what time is it there? Have you ever had someone in your own family humiliate you in public like you meant nothing? Drop it in the comments. I read every one. Back to the story. My name is Jenna Collins. I'm 34 years old, and I used to be the girl in the background. Invisible. At least, that's how Amanda preferred it. That Thursday, Chicago was cold in a way that made your bones feel brittle. I walked 6 blocks in worn boots that leaked around the soles. But it wasn't for me. It was for Mrs. Hellman. She lives across the hall from my apartment. 72. Retired school nurse. And proud. Too proud. For days, I'd noticed she hadn't cooked. No deliveries, no noise. She kept saying she was fasting, but her fridge hummed empty. So I offered her $100. Just until Friday. She didn't want it. Then finally whispered, "Only if you really mean it." I meant it. So I pulled on my old coat, grabbed my worn leather bag, and headed to Crescent Union Bank. I hadn't stepped in there since Amanda transferred to that branch. The air smelled like eucalyptus and floor polish. Lights too white. Everything too clean. The kind of place that makes people like me feel out of place, no matter how neat we dress. I filled out a withdrawal slip. $100. Then I heard the click of heels and a voice I'd never forget. "Well, look who wandered in." Amanda didn't wait for a response. She walked toward me like a storm cloud wrapped in designer perfume. Hair curled, nails perfect, lips painted in confidence. She glanced at the slip in my hand and smirked. "Still living on handouts, Jenna? Let me guess. $20? Oh wait, 100. We don't serve beggars here." Someone in a peacoat looked up. A teller went quiet. Even the overhead music seemed to pause. Amanda turned without another word. I stood there, still. Not ashamed. Just grounded. In that moment, I didn't flinch. Because Amanda wasn't just insulting me. She was revealing who she'd always been. And what she didn't know was, I wasn't broke. I was silent. There's a difference. She had no idea I was the majority stakeholder behind RavenMark Holdings, the institutional fund that floated nearly 40% of her bank's liquidity. She had no idea that I, her little sister, was the anonymous executive behind every quarterly stability report she used to climb the ladder. She had no idea who she had just called a beggar. So I left. Didn't cry. Didn't make a scene. I walked back into the cold, crossed the street to a corner cafe I used to visit when I was coding alone at midnight, building a system nobody believed in. I ordered peppermint tea. Then I opened my laptop. Fingerprint, encrypted code, passphrase, access granted, dashboard, RavenMark Holdings, partner, Crescent Union Bank, liquidity on file, $2.8 billion. I typed, request, full withdrawal, confirmed in person. Tomorrow I would walk back into that same branch, not to prove anything, but to remind them what happens when silence builds power and someone finally decides to speak. You don't just wake up owning a $2.8 billion fund, especially not when your family once told you you'd be lucky to wipe windows at a gas station. I still remember that night. We were sitting at the dinner table. My father had just cut into his steak. and I said I was quitting my job at the firm. He didn't look up, didn't ask why. He just said, "Then I hope you enjoy unemployment, because no one hires quitters." Amanda smiled into her wine glass. My mother stayed silent. I'd caught something, a number buried in a quarterly audit, the kind that doesn't miscalculate, it manipulates. I raised the red flag. They told me I wasn't a team player, so I walked. Not because I was reckless, but because I wanted to build something honest. Something no one could take credit for but me. 2 days later, I packed my things and moved into a sublet above a diner in Bridgeport. The ceiling leaked every time it rained. There was no heat in the hallway, but it was quiet, and it was mine. I bought a secondhand laptop on Craigslist, chipped trackpad, battery that died every 3 hours. But I'd spent 5 years inside compliance firms, watching how money moves when no one's looking. The idea behind RavenMark wasn't magic. It was logic the system refused to build. So I did, line by line. I started working on an idea, a system that could move money across jurisdictions without alerting compliance alarms. Legal, clean, anonymous. I called it RavenMark. Most nights I coded in the corner booth of that diner, plugged in near the soda fountain. Nobody looked twice. They thought I was job hunting. Maybe I was. Only my job didn't exist yet. I pitched the system to 2 investors. One ghosted. The other said, "It's cute, but no one trusts women with systems that can crash banks." He laughed when he said it. I didn't. Eventually, I posted a white paper online under the alias J. Crow. Just a name, just logic. No gender, no backstory. That's when he found me. R.A. He wasn't just a ghost in my inbox. He was precision. He challenged every assumption, broke my code, and sent back pieces with quiet brilliance. Never asked for credit, only progress. The first time I failed big, I panicked. He didn't. He just wrote, "Good. Now fix it." Then, without warning, he wired me $15,000 in Bitcoin. No call, no contract, just a note. If it works, we build. If not, we bury it. No questions, just one sentence. If it works, we build. If not, we bury it. So I built. I failed. A lot. Once, a single bug crashed the system at 3 a.m. I hadn't slept in 2 days. I threw up in the sink, then opened the debugger. Another time, I spilled tea on my hard drive. Lost 6 weeks of work. I cried once, just once. Then I rebuilt. And slowly, it worked. RavenMark routed funds for 3 mid-tier firms in Europe by year 2. It absorbed a dormant Cayman trust and restructured it into a US-compliant shell. By year 3, we'd gone fully institutional. Then came the moment. Crescent Union Bank reached out to RavenMark. They needed a silent liquidity partner. Low risk, high security, no press. I reviewed the onboarding file, and there she was, Amanda Collins, Vice President, branch strategy signature at the bottom of page 3. I sat there staring at it. Her handwriting, the same one she used to sign birthday cards with passive-aggressive comments in high school, now tied to the system I built from scratch. She had no idea, no clue that the very institution she bragged about had quietly been receiving millions, structured, layered, audited, through my code. I never told RA. I just signed the contract. Let her speak in boardrooms about how she secured the new funding channel. Let her praise RavenMark Holdings to her peers. She said, "This partnership is the future." She had no idea that the future she was referring to had my name all over it, folded deep, encrypted, untraceable. I didn't want to humiliate her. Back then, I still thought maybe one day she'd ask me how I was. But she never did. And then she looked me in the face, at the bank, and said, We don't serve beggars here. That's when I realized. She didn't just forget me. She chose to. She didn't just forget me. She chose to. And that choice had consequences. The day after she called me a beggar, I woke up at 6:17 a.m., not out of anger, out of clarity. There are moments in life where silence becomes a weapon. Not the loud kind, but the precise, surgical kind that cuts without raising its voice. That morning, I didn't dress in power. I dressed in focus. Dark navy jacket, clean hair, no perfume. I walked into Crescent Union Bank at 10:03 a.m. The same floors that once echoed with her heels now carried my steps. The receptionist looked up. She stiffened. "Can I help you?" I smiled gently. "Yes, I have an appointment under RavenMark Holdings." Her fingers paused on the keyboard, then blinked. A red notification flashed. She looked at me again, then picked up the phone. "Please hold." I waited. This time I wasn't trembling. This time, I belonged. Amanda appeared 90 seconds later. Folder in hand, lips already tight, posture defensive. She knew something was wrong. She just didn't know what. "What are you doing here?" she asked. Her tone was clipped. Too fast. "I told you yesterday, we don't—" I didn't answer her. Instead, I placed a slim black folio on the counter. Inside it, my encrypted authorization code Level 7 executive credential, and a signed withdrawal request for $2.8 billion. The receptionist opened it, scanned the QR code. Her screen froze, then turned black, then white, then red. She swallowed hard. I need to get the branch manager." Amanda snatched the folder, flipped through the documents. Her expression changed by the second. Smugness. Confusion. Realization. Panic. "Wait! What is this?" Her voice dropped half an octave. "This is fake. It has to be." She flipped back to the first page. Her name was there. Page 3. Amanda Collins, Vice President. Onboarding authorization signature. Hers. The man who stepped into the lobby next wore a navy blazer and a calm face. The branch manager. "Is there a problem here?" I extended my hand. "Jenna Collins, Executive Representative of RavenMark Holdings." He nodded. "I reviewed your authorization this morning. Would you like to finalize in the executive lounge?" Amanda took a step back. "Wait, you're RavenMark?" She looked at me like I'd just come back from the dead. I nodded. "You didn't recognize the name?" Her voice cracked. "I thought it was some offshore partner. You're not even—" I tilted my head. "Not even what, Amanda?" Silence. The manager gestured toward the elevator. I walked. Amanda didn't follow. But the weight of every eye in that lobby turned with me. Glass doors opened. We entered the lounge. It was quiet. Carpeted. Dimmed light. The kind of room where serious things happen quietly. The manager brought up the interface. "Final confirmation?" he asked. I nodded. "Biometric scan." I placed my thumb. Screen turned green. Transaction approved. $2.8 billion withdrawn. Executed under Clause 14C. Full withdrawal rights granted to silent partners upon audit trigger. No delays. No permissions needed. Just power. Activated. All partner accounts frozen for audit compliance. He looked at me with something between respect and disbelief. "Would you like a printed record?" "No," I said. "I have everything I need." He stood. I stood. The door opened behind me. Amanda stepped in. Her face had lost all its polish. She looked smaller. like someone trying to wake from a nightmare that wouldn't stop. "Jenna," she whispered, "please don't do this. You don't understand what this means. This will destroy everything." I looked at her. "Not everything, just the illusion." She blinked. "I have a son." I nodded. "So did Mrs. Hellman, and you mocked me for trying to help her." She swallowed hard. "I didn't know." "That," I said, "has always been your excuse." She dropped her gaze. No fight left, no mask to wear. Just a woman, standing in front of the sisters she erased, and realizing too late, she'd been working for her the entire time. That night, I didn't sleep. Not because I couldn't, because I didn't need to. It was the kind of quiet that follows something irreversible. The kind of quiet that tells you, you don't go back from here. I sat on the couch with a cup of chamomile tea, staring at the city lights. Didn't turn on the TV, didn't touch my phone. Until I saw it. Something thin, white, tucked halfway under my apartment door. I walked over slowly. At first, I thought it was another building notice. But then I saw the handwriting. Tight, deliberate, familiar. My mother's. It had been over 5 years since I'd seen it. Sharp cursive, no room for error. The kind of script that says I'm in control, even when everything underneath is unraveling. I didn't pick it up right away. I stared at it like it might vanish if I blinked. Because after 5 years of silence, a letter felt heavier than confrontation. Eventually, I bent down, held it like it might bite, took it to the table and just stared at it. What do you do with a letter from someone who watched you disappear and let you? I ran my fingers along the seal, still unbroken, still waiting. Then I opened it. Inside, a single sheet, neatly folded, not a wrinkle out of place. At the top, just my name. No sweetheart, no darling, no pretense, just Jenna. There's something I should have said a long time ago. I kept reading. She wrote about a summer I'd forgotten. I was 10, built a lemonade stand on our front lawn. I'd made signs, lined up plastic cups, counted change into a tin box. Amanda knocked it over before I sold a single cup. I cried, thought it was an accident. But in the letter, my mother wrote, "I saw what she did. I just didn't know how to stop her without making it worse, so I said nothing. And in doing that, I protected no one." She went on to tell me about the day I left. She wrote about standing outside my bedroom door with her hand on the knob, frozen, wanting to speak, afraid of what it might reveal, about her, about me. "I told myself you needed space," she wrote. "But the truth is, I was afraid you'd stopped needing me." Then came something I didn't expect. She knew, not all of it, but enough. She'd once seen my name, buried in a disclosure tied to an offshore trust. Didn't believe her eyes at first. Then she saw a note scribbled in the margin. My handwriting. A word only I used. Taper load, from my early code diagrams. She wrote, "That's when I knew what you'd built, what I'd missed, and what it cost to look the other way too long." Amanda reminded me too much of my own sister, loud, bright, and cruel. And I guess I was still afraid of standing up to people like her. I didn't reach out because I was ashamed, not of you, but of how easily I let them erase you. She didn't ask to be forgiven, didn't try to justify it. "I'm not writing this to come back into your life," she said. "I'm writing this because for the first time in years, I want you to know I see you, not as a daughter who left, but as the woman you became without us." I folded the letter, not angrily, just slowly. Then I stood, walked to my bedroom closet, pulled out an old box I hadn't opened in years. Inside, a leather bracelet from high school, a name tag from my first job, and the little blue savings book my grandfather gave me when I was 8. I flipped through the pages, almost all blank, but at the back, folded into the sleeve, was a note. Faded, thin, written in a hand I hadn't seen in decades. For the youngest, because she's the one they'll try to erase, until she builds something they can't ignore. It was signed, Arthur, my grandfather. I sat back on the floor, held the book to my chest, let the silence sit. Later that night, I opened my laptop, checked the RavenMark dashboard. The screen glowed steady. Then I opened a message from RA. Audit complete, transition clean, ready for next move. I didn't reply, but I whispered, "Thank you. You believed before I did." The cursor blinked. Then I closed the screen. Not to end something, but to begin what came next. And realized, this wasn't revenge. This was rebirth. And the ones who once watched me fall were now learning what it means when the girl they silenced writes her own name in ink. 3 days after I received my mother's letter, I got a text from a number I didn't save. Dinner this Friday. Family only. 6:30. The usual place. No name. No question. Just assumption. It was Amanda, of course. They always made things sound like invitations, but they were never optional. This time, it was. I stared at the message. Didn't respond. Then I read it again. Not because I didn't understand, but because it was surreal to be invited. After 5 years of being a ghost at birthdays, after being skipped on father's obituary, after watching them pretend I didn't exist while Amanda spoke at charity galas like she built her success from stone. Now they wanted dinner? I replied with one word. Confirmed. Not for them. For me. Friday came cold and clean. The restaurant hadn't changed. White linens, fake candles, a pianist who played like he hated the piano. I arrived at 6:27, hair pulled back, no makeup, dark green blouse, gold watch my grandfather left me, the one Amanda once said looked too serious for someone like me. I was the first to arrive. I sat at the head of the table. Didn't ask permission, didn't wait. 1 minute later, Amanda walked in. Heels, smile rehearsed, power blazer. She paused when she saw me, then smiled wider. "Jenna," she said like it tasted unfamiliar. "You look refreshed." I nodded. "You look nervous." She laughed, but it didn't stick. Clarice came next, our cousin, the PR specialist. Then George, our uncle. Then finally, Mom, hair perfect, pearl earrings, voice soft and trembling. "My girls," she said, as if we were still 9 and 14 in matching holiday dresses. Dinner began with small talk. Amanda talked about renovations. George mentioned the stock market. Clarice asked if I was still doing tech stuff. I didn't correct her. At 6:58, the wine was poured, and Amanda leaned forward. "So, Jenna," she smiled. Sweet, strategic. "I think we all agree. It's good to have you back. Things got off track, but we're family, and I believe in keeping things whole." I raised an eyebrow. "Do you?" She nodded. "We're stronger together. Always have been." Clarice chimed in. "There's actually a really exciting property redevelopment happening. Upstate. I told Amanda we could use your financial insight." There it was. The ask. The real reason they brought me here. I reached into my bag, pulled out a slim folder, placed it on the table. Nobody touched it. They just looked. Amanda's voice sharpened. What's that? I opened it. Inside, deed to the Pennsylvania Land Trust. A copy of a restricted transfer. Amanda filed 5 years ago, and a handwritten note from my grandfather. I slid the final page forward. You remember this signature? I asked. Amanda's face paled. That was dissolved. No, I said. It was buried. Different thing. George cleared his throat. Clarice stared at the wineglass. Then I said it. I own the land you're trying to redevelop. And I've already filed a legal injunction based on zoning code violations. The county board responded this morning. Construction's on hold. Your project isn't delayed, it's over. Amanda's voice cracked. It was just easier that way. You weren't present. I tilted my head. I was always present, just not visible to you. Silence. Long, sharp. Then Mom spoke. I didn't know, she whispered. I believed her. She never did the dirty work, just folded the napkins while others cleaned the knives. I stood slowly. No hard feelings, I said. But don't invite me to dinner when what you want is access. Invite me when you're ready to say, I was wrong. Amanda didn't respond. Clarice looked like she might cry. George adjusted his tie. I slid the folder back into my bag. Good luck with the project, I said. And then I walked out. No shouting, no scene, just steps and silence. I didn't cry on the way home, not because I wasn't moved, but because something in me had already let go. That dinner wasn't closure. It wasn't even confrontation. It was confirmation that I didn't need their apology to walk away free. The next morning I woke up early. No alarm, no agenda, just air. Clean, still, mine. I made coffee. Strong, black, no sugar. Then I opened the RavenMark dashboard. For the first time in weeks, I didn't check numbers. Didn't monitor liquidity. Didn't run projections. I just looked at the screen. Let it glow. Let it remind me what I'd built and who I'd become when no one was watching. Later that afternoon, I visited a small office building on the west side. Unassuming. 3 floors. Windows painted shut. A place most people passed by without noticing. But inside, a renovation was already underway. The front desk had no name yet, just a taped sign that read, Future Home of the Ledger Project. It's mine. I bought the building last month under a new entity, unrelated to RavenMark, untraceable to my family. It will house a nonprofit program offering financial training for girls aged 12 to 18. Budgeting, crypto basics, ethical investing, building systems they can own. Systems no one can take from them, not even the people who raised them. I met the first 2 interns that day. Bright eyes. One wore purple glasses. The other had a voice too quiet for a room that loud. I saw myself in both. They asked if I'd be teaching the first seminar. I said yes. Not because I love public speaking, but because I know how important it is to have just one person say, you belong here, even when the world tells you otherwise. That night, I walked home through the city. It had just rained. The pavement shimmered like it was trying to remember sunlight. I passed by Crescent Union Bank. Lights still on, doors still polished. But now, just a building. Not a memory, not a wound, just glass. Amanda was probably still inside, wading through audits, explaining where the $2.8 billion went. I didn't stop, didn't look through the glass, didn't need to. Because the moment I walked away from her silence, I found my own voice. And that was the only withdrawal that ever mattered. People think revenge is about destroying the ones who hurt you. But real power is walking away without taking the ruin with you. It's building something better when no one claps. It's investing in people who haven't been told yet that they're allowed to succeed. It's rewriting your story in your own name without asking for space at someone else's table. So no, I didn't take down Amanda. I didn't end my mother. I didn't torch the past. I just left it. And in doing so, I reclaimed everything they thought I'd never reach. The next morning, I got a voicemail from Clarice. Something about regrouping. Brunch. Catching up. I deleted it. Then I poured coffee. Opened a new document. Typed. Ledger Curriculum. Week 1. Systems no one can take from you. And smiled. Because this was never about money. It was about what happens when the girl who was told to stay silent writes the whole story anyway.